It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio, flavored with a dash of humor. Welcome to intelligent, irreverent talk about plants and the planet they grow on. Your questions, comments, and participation are always welcome on Facebook and Instagram at The Mike Nowak Show and at Mike Now on Twitter.
Good planets are hard to find. Temperate zones and tropic climes. And true currents and thriving seas. Wind blowing through breathing trees. Strong ozone and safe sunshine. Well, good planets are hard to find. Good planets are in demand.
Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com.
Jet streams, perfect air.
And here they are, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
Well, good planets are in demand. Right.
You know, someday I should keep that going, the video, because then there's some great shots of some spring flowers, and there's a grasshopper on your windshield that nobody ever sees after we see Basil the dog and Legata the cat.
Can you just let it run for a second?
Too late
or is
now.
That too hard?
We're done. We're done. It's gone. Goodbye.
I still remember that the grasshopper on my windshield. I'm just looking at it going, wow, that's a cool photo.
That is it. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a different intro and make sure that part gets included because it's so odd. It's such a weird photograph. And what was the story on that again?
Oh, I was sitting at the traffic light, literally not even a half a mile away. And there was a grasshopper just sitting on my windshield.
Grasshopper on windshield.
Grasshopper on windshield, yes.
Okay.
Yes, or something. Don't ask me. But It just seemed like grabbed my phone, took a photo, sent it to you.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go check. Okay, I've decided. Oh, look at this. The chat is working this morning. How about that?
How about that?
All right.
And Dan Costa's off to plant lettuce seeds in his hanging baskets.
You know, I realized I was going to plant some lettuce seeds, and then I realized I didn't have any lettuce seeds. I don't think I have anything. I might have old ones, and of course they'll never germinate. But I've got everything.
Put them on a paper towel and see if they.
I've got a lot of other things planted, though. I mean, I've got some chard out there, and some kale, and I've got spinach coming up. I've got beets coming up. I've got. I planted peas. I haven't seen them. And they might even have been a little late. I probably should have done that 2 weeks ago. But we'll ask. We'll ask.
We're going to have snow, so.
I know. Well, they don't care. But we'll ask our first guest and our only guest.
Of
the show today in just a second. That's Melinda
so
Myers.
Maybe we're the guests.
That's fine with me. You know, I just want to relax. It's a Sunday morning. Don't have to do any work. But I did want to do. It's kind of funny. We're talking about the Restream chat box, and it means nothing to folks watching us, but to Peggy, me, and me, it means everything in the world because
it means someone's out there.
Well, no, what it means is it takes all of the chat from all the places we stream, which is Twitter and Facebook. Resistance is futile. YouTube, and that's spelled YEWTUBE. And our website, and it combines all of them into one chat stream. Last week we didn't have this, so there was Peggy frantically. I got to find the stream. Where the comments?
I'm on my phone, and I'm here, and I'm.
Yeah. So it's back working, and I chatted with the folks at Restream, and they, oh yeah, we had a test. Did we told you that? Didn't you see our notice? We sent something out on Twitter. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, really?
Who looks at Twitter?
Not me, except on Sunday, and then I'm all over it, which is not the way they want you to work it. So what I decided is we need a segment at the beginning of at least this show, and maybe every show. Is like. Because we can see folks typing in, like Diana just said, it's not your Diana, Melinda. It's another Diana. I found a morel on my walk this morning in Rogers Park. Make sure it's not poisonous, Diana, okay? Just, okay? And Shelly says she has carrots and potatoes coming up. Wow, I'm impressed. And Zan says, let one lettuce go to seed every year. You'll never have to plant lettuce again.
That's like my arugula.
I had that for what? Okay, yeah. Really, with the arugula, huh?
Oh yeah, it's all coming
Although
up.
I had a disaster. Well, we'll get to it when we get to probably. Well, I better say it now because I won't remember it. My parsley overwintered. And I was like, yay, okay, parsley. And then, of course, last week something ate it to the nub. And I'm like, what?
It'll
Come
come back.
on, man.
My parsley and my kale that I put in the hoop house, the low little teeny hoop house, the Nikki Jabor hoop house is doing fabulously. So.
And I realize I'm going to have to put one out. We're going to, again, talk with Melinda in a second. But what I was thinking is since every week we start our show generally with a computer or app disaster that is in process. All right, this is a gardening show, but every week it's something is okay. Here's what's going wrong. Like today, just as the show's starting, and I hit the stream button, and I figure we're going out there. Kathleen comes down the stairs, yells to me, "I got nothing," and I'm like, "Okay, great."
Oh boy.
But I'm sure she does now. And I think there was a glitch of some kind with the streaming. I don't know why.
It started early.
I just hit the buttons. What do I know? It
started early.
I'm just a control panel guy here. I'm just an innocent show host who's trying to put stuff together.
They taught you well at Gargantua, in other words.
At Gargantua, yep. Down the dial, which is going to be on my tombstone. And so what I was thinking is if our folks who are sending us gardening stuff right now, Daniel Costa says, parsley is a biennial, will only bloom the second year, so no good to use. Well, thanks a lot, dude. Okay, so...
Mine's fine.
Well, we'll see.
It will bloom. It will bloom eventually.
Well, I had my kale come back last year, and it started... first thing it started doing was blooming. And I just was relentless. I just started pinching off blooms every time. And it lasted the season. So what can I tell you?
I've got third-year kale coming back right now. Well, you had the what was the one brassica you had that kept coming back year after year?
Yeah, I had the broccolini come back for 4 years in a row. I'm like, it's not supposed to do that. And I should have saved the seeds because I thought I've got something special here. And last year it died. So there you go. So I thought what our viewers and listeners could do is send us their computer and app malfunctions of the week. The top malfunctions of the week. If you got one that's a quick one that like ruined your life for a day, pop it in the chat box. I'd love to see that. And we'll mention it.
Be careful what you ask for.
Well, as long as it doesn't affect me, what do I care? But I just thought that might be kind of fun. So we'll do that. Let's skip all that other nonsense and let's just go right to and how do you like that little that transition? I'm working with cameras and shots and stuff here. There she is, Melinda Myers.
Because you got your sport coat on.
That's right. Oh, and by the way, this was in my sport coat. This is from Southwest Airlines. It's the pretzels. It's because it says, just because we like you. Thank you, Southwest Airlines. I have no idea how long those have been in this pocket. And they're sort of crunchy now. I mean, well, they're in tiny little. So, but this is better than the other airlines because the other airlines make you bring your own pretzels and you have to give them to the crew and then they charge you for doing that. So just letting you know, that's why I like to fly Southwest. I don't know, Melinda. I don't think Southwest operates out of Milwaukee, do they?
I think they have a few limited flights, but I haven't flown anywhere like most people for over a year. So
really, something been going on?
Yeah, just something a little, just that little pandemic thing.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. I heard about that. Hey, welcome back to the show. The last time you saw Melinda Myers, she was checking her dignity at the door. And she was part of our It's a Wonderful slice of It's a Wonderful Life. And okay, the best part of
Also,
this, the best part of this, and I put it in the blog post, and you go to MikeNowak.net to read about it. And there's also a link. If you haven't seen Melinda in It's a Wonderful Slice of It's a Wonderful Life, you should go check out the video. She played God and then Violet within seconds of each other. So she played a deity and a tart within that. This is what I call range. Okay, you have such range.
And I think I screwed it up, so that tells me my range is not so good.
Well, I'm going to teach
but
you.
you had Bedford Falls behind you.
Which I love. Here's my faux pas technology-wise. I had
Okay.
an arborist. We had a meeting for a committee for the Wisconsin Arborist Association on marketing for the tree fund research, how we could be creative. And everybody goes, "You're in Bedford Falls?" And I'm like, "Oops, forgot to change my background." And of course, I didn't have you two to help me. There's Peggy and Mike. I don't know how to do this.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is so good.
Mike, can you turn up Melinda's volume just a little?
I did already. I'm going to turn.
Oh, do I need to do something?
I can
on
do
my
it. I
end?
can.
Okay, good. That's better if you can do it.
Oh yeah, I will do it here. Yeah,
Before Bedford Falls pops up behind you.
Exactly.
I already jacked it up a few points, but here we go. We try a little more, and I think we should be good to go. Okay, my daughter dropped her phone in a sink full of water last night. Total meltdown here. Hey, Nancy Bender, thank you so much. All right, there's our. So we've got Melinda's, we got Nancy Bender's, and they're
We
probably.
won't even talk about mine. They just
Did you have one?
no. It's just an ongoing.
Oh well.
You can't isolate one.
It's just
I hear
part of
you.
it's just
Too
part
many
of
to talk
being this
about.
show. One of the reasons I love having you on, Melinda, because I'm just going to relax. I'm going to pour a little Bailey's into this, okay? Bailey?
Yeah, this is after the mimosas, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. First the mimosas, then the Bailey's and the coffee, because I have an expert here, a walking, talking, writing expert, broadcasting expert in Melinda Myers, and I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to punch buttons here, okay? And you'll handle the rest. But so you got to tell us what you're up to right now. Even let's start with the plug, okay? Why not?
Okay. Well, one of my partners is Pasquesi Home and Garden Center. And if you've never been there, it's an amazing place. Great plants, wonderful staff.
In
part
Lake
for
Bluff.
me,
In Lake
in
Bluff,
Lake
Illinois.
Bluff. Thank you, Peggy. Important point. And they're
975 North Shore Drive in Lake Bluff.
Yay. Boy, you're better at this than me. They're going to get rid of me.
You got to get your PR stuff down, Melinda.
I do. Jeez. And they sponsored a couple webinars. So the one coming up on May 4th at 6:30 p.m. is spring flowering shrubs. And, one of the things for me, I think for all of us that are in the Midwest and North, and I know you have listeners all over, but spring, no matter when it comes, whether it's January or May 20th, it's an important part to say, okay, winter is mostly done, and here's some color to get us through. And I think spring flowering shrubs just add so much to the landscape. And I'm going to talk about those that not only have flowers in the spring, but maybe some good fall color, great for pollinators that are looking for sources of nectar this time of year. And so I hope you can join me. It's free, and it's on their website, pasquesi.com. There's a picture of me. Just click on it, and then it leads you right to signing up for the webinar. You do need to register, but it's free. And so I hope you'll join me. And then this summer, we're doing a call in with your questions segment in July, and then fall we're waiting to see. It may be in person, it may be a webinar, but they're wonderful. I know. I miss
what in person? What's that?
Well, I know. And the thing is, I have to laugh. I've saved money by not traveling, because every time I go to a flower and garden show, right, you spend money. Oh,
That's
a
true.
cool new tool. I need it, or that plant.
Oh,
right?
It's in your car.
Just
Okay, I haven't come to that point, Peggy, but yes.
you just per diem the government, okay? Come on, you know how that works.
So yeah, so I want to thank them because webinars have been the mainstay of me communicating with
Mhm.
people other than media folks like you guys to
And,
stay in touch. And
and reaching a
gardeners love
broader
to share.
audience.
Exactly. So it's been fun because I think they weren't lying, someone from Australia. I have a lot of people from Canada and all over the US and some, who knows, from wherever. And so it's fun because in the chat, and you guys know this, that to me is the community that we've developed. So I do
Mhm.
Q&A, and that usually lasts for an hour and a half, the questions and answers. But in the chat, I go, talk amongst yourselves. And so I'll go, oh, there's a webinar coming up. I can't remember. Somebody will type that in. Oh, the handout, where's the link? Somebody will add that in.
Mhm.
And it's so fun because I feel like there's this whole community that's developed. I think we're adapting to the situation. Yes, in person is the best. But you guys are radio folks, well, sort of radio, TV, multimedia now, but you know, when you can talk to people, it's great, but you can make
Yeah.
that connection even virtually. And so, that's what you do every week. And so it's been fun for me. We're having a good time and adapting, and people are tuning in. So that's great.
You know what I found out is that I haven't been hit by a tomato in over a year, okay? And that is the best thing about doing these things
I
online.
think I think we could still arrange that.
I was
Yeah,
going to say,
all of a
Peggy
sudden,
looks like she's got a plan.
yeah, I don't know how that happens unless
Kathleen's going to come sneaking down the stairs.
I know it exactly. And just like that.
And
So,
you didn't even have to pay her for it, did you, Peggy?
no.
Oh, I'd love to help you out.
And by the way, that information about the seminar at Pasquazi's is on my website, MikeNovak.net. Again, it's the 4th, and it's what 6:30 to
6:30, yeah. So
yeah.
you can grab your dinner or your glass of wine or favorite beverage, sit down and enjoy. That somebody once emailed because this is so nice because I'm in my pajamas and I have a drink in my hand and I can't do that at the garden center.
And,
Well,
and
you
it's
could, but
Well, you could, but people would stare. But who cares, right?
it's 45 minutes plus Q&A, and that's because
Right.
Melinda runs out of material at about the 45-minute mark. And
Yeah, I'm working on that.
it's all I got, folks. Okay, and then 15 minutes into the Q&A, she says, "Cut them off. Okay, we're done. I'm out of here."
talk amongst
The funny
yourselves. Bye.
That's right. The funniest part is I kind of watch the participants, and I've gone an hour and a half after my webinars answering questions, and I keep
Yikes!
making. I know I keep going. Well, as long as someone's listening, I'm going to keep answering. But when you're all gone, I'm gone. And so I'll
Yep.
watch and I get it. They got the information, they leave. But if you have a question, I have people hanging in there, and I'm like, well, if you can tolerate listening to me that long, I can talk.
Okay.
So
So at a
it's fun.
spring flowering shrub seminar, what are some of your typical questions?
Well, what can I plant? And then it goes anywhere from there. So I love to do some things that are they deer and what right? The most common question, will the deer and
Mhm.
rabbits leave it alone? And my answer is always they'll eat anything if they're hungry enough and
Yep.
there's enough of them. And so, I had that question in my last webinar, and they said, "Can you give me some annuals that rabbits won't eat?" And I'm like, "Well, you know what? The population was high, the snow was deep. Obviously, that wasn't hurting the annuals, but they're now in the habit of eating in your landscape. And so it's time to look for some things. I do some work with Plant Skid, SKYDD. It's a weird name, Plant Skid, and it's an odor-based repellent. And it's nursery people and folks are using it and having good success. And I treated the plants that are most susceptible, but the ones that have never had a problem, I thought, I don't need to treat those. Well, the rabbits enjoyed a few things this year. So I went out and treated all my tulips that I thought were safe. And, their habits change, the populations are change. So you just have to be prepared. And yeah, look for resistant plants. But every list I've seen the animals eat them. So
Well,
yeah,
and that's the key is that when you look it up, you don't. It's always plant or animal resistant plants.
resistant.
You're not
Yeah,
going
let's
to
say
get.
water resistant. Same thing.
Yeah.
And as you say, if they're hungry enough, they'll eat anything. That goes for deer. That goes for rabbits. And you're not the only one who's been disappointed to see that happen. And the other thing that I've heard about, and by the way, I know about Plant Skid. It's a great product. They were an advertiser on my show back in the day. Um, what I've heard about these products is that you need to mix your strategies. So sometimes you use one product, sometimes because there's a number of them out there that are they're efficacious and work pretty well. But there are other strategies too, like motion detectors and fencing, and basically it's combine everything, and you might have a chance of saving some of your plants.
Definitely. My father was a gardener and he grew tomatoes and peppers. He was a vegetable gardener. And we had a cherry tree that we got for free when some shopping mall opened up many, many years ago. And the birds would eat all the cherries. And the neighbor's cat would come through. Our cat lived in the house. The birds would dive bomb the cat, didn't scare him. My dad tried netting and it wasn't working because they'd get in underneath. And so he hung rubber snakes in the tree, but didn't move them. And the birds ate everything but like a few cherries. And then they put the pits on top of his tomato steaks like I won, and I thought that was just the ultimate, they're going to beat you because they have all day to figure it out.
That's right. That's all they're doing. They're just
And they
chowing
can't
down.
go to the grocery store.
Exactly.
But speaking of spring flowering, you know what? Do I have that photo here? Oh, I do. I need to pop this up. Here it is.
Your yard?
This is my front yard, believe it or not.
Oh,
Ooh, pretty.
beautiful.
Those are the Little Red Riding Hood tulips.
Looks like that.
Yeah. They have the variegated leaves, and they're at their end there. That's why they look like they're supposed to have that shape, but they're all perfect. But they're starting to lose the shape of the bloom. But behind them is Caria japonica, which I'm surprised that more people don't use. Do you have any idea why? And I'll tell you why it's there. If you look, you'll see a tree, two trees there, and one of them's almost completely obscured. Those are both in my parkway. And so I get very little sun in the summer. And so I was looking for a shade plant. And I know Caria blooms in the shade. And for a while, when I first moved into this place, I was planting everything there just to see what would survive, and very little survived at all. I mean, hostas just melted because they couldn't get enough water, and they would just disappear on me. And then I put the Caria in, and it's done fabulously. And it's around the base of the one tree, and I couldn't get rid of it if I wanted to. I know it's not a native, but it's just such a gorgeous plant. Have you got anything to say about that, Melinda?
It is a beautiful plant, and the stems are chartreuse, so in the winter that adds value to your winter landscape as well. And there's a double flowering form. It is invasive in some areas, so I know I was so disappointed because I love this plant as well. It like you said, in the shade, in dry shade,
right,
under
dry
trees,
shade.
it's hard, dry shade, and it blooms like crazy. And then in the winter, some hard winters we would see dieback. I'm north of you, and even though I'm supposedly a 5A, I think I'm more like a 4B, but we'd get some dieback, but the roots would survive, so it wasn't a problem at all. So just check your local Department of Natural Resources. You're in the middle of the city.
Well, I know that, but I don't want to have invasive plants in, and that's part of the problem. And so I'm sure you're also telling people, burning bush, please don't.
Oh, you bet. And barberry. There are some sterile varieties.
Don't believe it.
Which is jet bead, which is another shade tolerant in the rose family. Cool fruit, it's invasive too. So it's like, take that one off the list, take that one off the list. And I think I've been in the business a long time, so I've given out advice on plants that we didn't realize were a problem. And so I think nurseries are doing a much better job. They're working with invasive plant species committees to try to make sure that we're not introducing new problems as well. So it's hard to keep up. Well, every time I write about a plant, I try to do my best to research where it's invasive. It's like butterfly bush. People are like, well, mine doesn't even live. How can it be invasive? And there are some sterile varieties that even Washington State has allowed. But then there's the concern of, are they growing? Yeah.
I don't believe it, because one of the things that happens with sterile varieties is they morph. Okay, things change, and then suddenly they're not sterile anymore. And the key species in that regard is calorie pear. All right.
Oh,
The
yeah.
idea was that calorie pair, and everybody wants a calorie pair because they love the white blooms in the spring. I had a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago write to me and say, "Hey, I'm thinking of getting a red spire pair." And I looked it up and I went, "Oh, I got a hunch." And he goes, "Yeah, it's a calorie pair." I said, "Don't, just don't get an Amelanchier, a hawthorn. He wanted a smallish tree that had blooms on it." I said, "But don't get a calorie pear, please, because they're invasive."
Yeah, and and I kind of lost my train of thought.
I'm
Oh, the
sorry.
other thing is some people that even if it's not invasive in your area, is it being raised in a nursery where it is invasive? And so that may have impact on their local environment. And
Mhm.
so that's another consideration. And part of why we garden is we get to make those choices. So I like the fact you guys, and this is what I try to do, here are the facts as I know them, you
Well,
know,
and I'll tell you
and
here are the
and
facts about my uh, uh,
carry it. Yeah.
Caria japonica is I put it in when I didn't have any idea, and didn't know as much about natives at the time. It was almost 2 decades ago, and and I still love it, and it's still gorgeous. Uh, had I to do over again, yeah, I probably wouldn't plant it, but it's there now, and I don't think I could take it out if I want because it's entangled with the roots of that hybrid elm there, so it would be tough.
Right. Exactly. And we
So
all have to look at what we've done, and we all make those mistakes because we didn't know back then or weren't
Or
aware
the
at the
prior
time.
owners put it in.
Oh, exactly. And then it's so key to your landscape. At what point can you redo your landscape
Mhm.
and
so
gradually maybe gradually taking over?
So to make good for all the people who are upset with me that I might have an invasive plant, boom, there's my Amelanchier in bloom. And this is what I told my friend. I said, "Get an Amelanchier. They're so cool, and they're four-season interest. I mean, they've got the blooms in the spring, the berries in the summer, the great fall color, and the bark in the winter. It's great stuff."
And the birds love the fruit. And I don't know where they poop the seeds out, but I've never seen seedlings when I had mine in the city. And when I have one now that came with my house in the wrong place, it's kind of hot. So I'm putting in a couple more in a suitable places in case this one goes. Because it's one of the cedar waxwings and the robins come in that tree and
Oh my
clean out the
goodness.
fruit right within a day.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
They're edible. They make great pies and muffins and just a handful when you eat if you could beat the birds. But I love watching the birds and I have to fill it. The tree does the job for me.
Mhm.
And you're right. I don't get a chance to eat the berries. Last year, I put netting over one branch so that I could have
Okay.
some berries, and that was it.
Okay.
That was the only berries I got off of the tree. But that's okay with
Not
me.
growing them for you,
I mean,
Right,
growing
exactly.
them for the wildlife.
yeah. Tree Skeetman is there. Hey, Skeet. He says, "Eat the berries on the service berry."
Oh yeah,
Now,
they're
Here's a
great.
yeah, we got a question from Mike.
Yeah.
Michael.
You got like 2 minutes here before we break. Because
Okay.
I've got one of these too. Go ahead, Peggy.
He says, I bought a Korean spice viburnum. Is it a good choice for the Chicagoland garden?
I love it. It's a great plant. The rabbits, this is one that the rabbits ate half of mine.
Wow.
So I'm going to get blooms on half. And it's one they've always left alone. It's been in the same spot 5 years. Fragrant. There's wonderful cultivars like sugar and spice. I have not seen anything about them being invasive. And Spice Island is another one, so that are a little more compact. I don't know if you guys have anything, but nice fall color, good fragrance. Mine's right by my patio
I've
and
got
my
one.
door.
I got one right out in front. It's in full bloom right now. Every time I walk out the front door, I get blasted with this fragrance, which is just even this week when it was really chilly, it cut through the cold and you could smell it. I don't have rabbits here. I've never had a problem with this shrub. The only problem I have is that it's a tad too large for the spot because I have a very small area in front. So I have to prune it every single year after the
Is
blooms
that on your
are.
parkway or is that up
No,
by the
it's in
front
the
porch?
right next to the front porch. In my tiny little, I have like a what is it, a 5 by 6 area which is my front yard, which is completely overgrown with
I could
plants right
see
now.
it's all full. That's how you garden in the city, though. You
Yeah.
Yeah,
can. That's one of the best ways to.
It's
That's what I did when
layering.
I was. Yes.
But
Make the most of every square foot.
I'm also aware that it's not a native, and there are native viburnums.
Yes.
So if you want to go that route, you can, but they don't have the fragrance that the Korean spice has. And that's why I got it. And again, had I to do it over again, I'd probably still get it. Because I love and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
And for Pasquazi, a few years ago, I did just a fact sheet on the a variety of viburnums. So if you just info@melindamyers.com, I'll send out a copy to you, info@melindamyers.com, and ask for the, I think it's the recipe for success or low maintenance viburnums, and I'll get that to my team who answers those questions in a timely manner versus me. And
you can look right now, right below Melinda's name, it says melindamyers.com, MYERS, for those of you who are just listening on the podcast, melindamyers.com. All right, we need to take a short break. We got more questions. We got more shrub questions here. So this is great. Keep sending us your questions. Just type them into Facebook or Twitter. Facebook. Resistance is futile. And wherever you're watching the show, it's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We'll be right back.
At CEGA Salmon Shares, we take pride in being a seafood company that's a little different. In fact, 10 seasons ago, our motto was "We do salmon differently." Nowadays, we harvest 15 species of wild-caught Alaskan fish, but still call ourselves CEGA Salmon Shares because, well, we're a little different. Our difference starts with our fleet of fishermen who own a slice of the company and are paid above industry average. They deliver fish to our docks in about half the time as other fishermen, which means higher quality of fish for you. And we never buy our fish from large processors where we don't know how each fish was caught or handled, like most other companies do. Another difference is our fish plant, which we own too. Our plant freezes fish about twice as cold and twice as fast as the other guys. This produces unparalleled quality at a cellular level.
Ooh.
Our difference extends to you too. By joining our community, you band together with thousands of other people who want to make a difference in the way that their food is produced. This allows our fishermen to harvest fish just for you, with the respect, thought, and care that the fish, the ocean, and you deserve. So, be a little different. Join us at sitkasalmonshares.com.
At this time of year, we spend a lot of time indoors with our plants, so help them thrive. The plants you're viewing were treated with Leafzyme, a foliage spray designed to activate beneficial microbes already present on the leaves. A spritz every few weeks promotes growth-enhancing microorganisms that process dust and other particles into nutrition that indoor plants can absorb through their leaves for beautiful and vigorous growth. Go to blazing-star.com and check out their BioGarden line for home gardeners.
You can help slow climate change in 2021 by composting, and you don't even need a backyard. By composting communally in multi-unit buildings across Chicagoland, Collective Resource Compost has diverted 7,000 tons of food scrap since 2010. CRC brings you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter, they swap it out, and get it to a commercial composting operation. Fight climate change. Go to collectiveresource.us.
And a couple of things I want to say about all of our great sponsors there. Let's start from back to front. And Collective Resource is part of the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to be talking to them about some of the initiatives going on regarding compost. And compost, of course, is a wonderful thing, as everybody knows. And Melinda's nodding. So we hope you join us for that. I've been talking to the folks at Blazing Star, and they're working on some cool stuff. And we're going to have Dennis Warnicki again from Tineo Biologicals on the show very, very soon to talk about biology in your soil. It seems kind of arcane, but you're not growing anything without biology in your soil. So we're looking for
biology.
It's the biology, stupid. Thank you. All right, we got to put that in there. And you know what I realized?
My job.
I know you are. But, all I have to say to you is...
You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, so there you go. And then Sitka Salmon Shares. Look who told me she got a share is Melinda Myers. Thank you, Melinda. And you folks from Sitka Salmon Shares, hope you're watching. Folks, and it's wonderful stuff, isn't it? It's just amazing.
Oh, it is. I heard the owners, I think one or both are from Wisconsin originally, and they were on Wisconsin Public Radio. And so they're very engaging and committed to their mission. And I'd been thinking about signing up, and then I saw through your show, and I said, I'm going to support Mike and Sitka Salmon Share. And fish is amazing. It's kind of like we go, ooh, what did we get this month? And fish is good for your diet. They're doing it environmentally sound manner. So, they're just doing everything right. Their team is funny. They have recipes. They have the under 10, under 5 ingredient recipes, which is important for people like me that, I'm a pretty plain cooker. And so I go, okay, I'm going for the least amount of ingredients that I'm likely to have, but they have everything. Some more gourmet, some simple. They have fun. And I'm all about businesses that have fun, like you guys too. So if you're not having fun, life's too short. So yeah, the product is excellent. I've bought salmon in the store, and sometimes you get the best, and sometimes it's like, oh, I'm not going to buy salmon for a while.
Yeah,
and we've never been disappointed.
It's always the best when you get Sitka Salmon Shares. So in fact, we just got a share last week.
Right.
Very happy with it. So that's a quick plug for our sponsors. Welcome back.
And Bartlett.
And you're
Bartlett.
going to. Yes, I know. What are you going to say about Bartlett, though? That's the
Every
point.
training the champion. And Skeet's watching and Scott's watching. Hey, guys.
Oh, okay, great. Well, let's give them a shout out, too. Go ahead, Melinda.
I was going to say, and their team, they have a lot of certified arborists on their team. So I've been lucky enough to work with some and meet some, and they do a lot of research. And so they're an important partner in keeping our trees healthy in communities and backyards and front yards.
And you're going to see some of those arborists in about 23 minutes. And Peggy and I have been down to their research labs, too. It's
cool.
Pretty terrific stuff. So there we are. Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We've still got more questions, and one of the questions they are. This is amazing. We might not. We're going to play at least one of your Melinda's magic moments,
or they can go to my. Yeah, they're not so magic. They could go to my website if they really need to see them.
No, but we got to play at least one of them. But the question that's coming up that I want to get to first. Whoops, what did I just hit there? Is not about specific plants, but about what's going to happen on Tuesday of this week when the cold front comes down. And we're not just talking shrubs, because shrubs usually they can handle themselves unless they're just the buds have just come out. But what are you planning to do in your yard to protect your plants come Tuesday?
Well, I'm behind. I'm up in Wisconsin, so when you're my viburnum is just in bud. I just cleared the weeds out of my saffron. My asparagus is just coming up, and like you said, some plants are going to tolerate it. One thing I do want to mention about trees and shrubs, the flowers are very susceptible in some species, so you may lose the blooms. That's, if you're in the north, that's typical of what happens on those crazy late spring frosts. If the leaves, you mentioned, if the buds are open, the leaves may be damaged, but the good news is plants are very adaptable, and they create adventitious buds, so they'll send out new leaves, so just be patient. I'm a huge fan of row covers, polypropylene spun fabric, and you throw it over, lets air, light, and water through, but traps the heat. And the benefit of that is, we have those frosty few days, and then it's nice, and maybe a frosty few more days, and I'm kind of lazy. And so, you know what, I can put it on, anchor it, leave it on. I can water through it if it's dry, or if it rains, it gets watered. I don't have to pull it off to let the sun in, cover it up in the evening. It's in place. And I use it a lot to jumpstart the season, even if there's not frost in the forecast. Just because you never know, but our days can be kind of chilly, even in June. June, right? When we get 40 degrees, your tomatoes are in the ground. Sometimes you'll get brown spotting. It can stunt them and delay them. So giving them a little protection, even though it's not frost, can help speed up your harvest as well. So I things that I've got plants I'm starting to harden off in and out. I know you've put some of your tropicals out, Mike. Mine are not going out for a while
Well,
yet.
you live in
I'm not that
Milwaukee.
brave.
Okay, you're in Milwaukee.
Exactly.
And I'm looking out there. I was looking just this morning, and I'll probably bring most of them in, if not all of them, because I think Rick DiMaio is going to tell us we're going to get below freezing at least one of those nights.
It's further out, yeah.
But I don't have that many out. I put it, but they've been out for a week and a half, which is great. They like that, and that's part of the deal. What I've found about tropicals is they're much more cold tolerant than you think. All right, you don't have to bring them in every time you get to 45 degrees. A lot of them will tolerate anything right up to the freezing line. But you have to experiment. You have to know which of them. Like for instance. I'm not putting my Dieffenbachia out there. I think that would just be it would be on the ground.
It might be your Mingorelia might just.
No,
yeah.
No, my Mingorelia is outside right now, and it's been handling it pretty well. So,
and you might want to point out too that you're in the city, so you have the urban heat island, a very sheltered location.
Right.
Just because I tend to give very conservative advice because I'm never sure if I say, "Oh, wait until this temperature," and close enough, and people put it out and it dies, then I feel responsible, or they think I am. So I just wanted to save you a rotten tomato coming at you.
Thank you. All right.
Find another reason.
Exactly.
And so that. For people who are panicking and say, well, I don't have a row cover, where can they get one? Or what can they use instead of the traditional row cover?
So my friends always make fun of me because I have stuff all over my house. And it's stuff that like old bed sheets that are not worthy of being on the bed, right?
Yep.
And the fitted ones are great because I could put those over my raised bed and they're sewed up the holes and the rips, right? Even
the fitted
Covers,
ones.
I know. They're perfect. Or over your containers. And so I do have that stash. That the joke at my house is, frost is in the forecast. Let's wait till 10 at night to cover those plants and when the winds are 15 miles an hour because it wouldn't be
And you've got a headlamp on or holding the flashlight in your teeth, one of the two.
Oh, exactly. It wouldn't be frost protection otherwise. So the great point. And I find, I've even left the sheets on a couple days if it's kind of, frosty throughout. But you do need to eventually let the sun shine in. But so I just have a place I stash all of that out of the way so that in fall when I'm trying to, or even spring, you get a frost and then it's beautiful. And so if you cover those plants,
so which plants are you going to cover? Which ones are you concerned with?
So, you know what? I don't have anything out there in need of covering because it's been so cool. We had 27 degrees this week. 27 degrees. So I haven't been planting.
You guys are 90 miles north and you're 2 weeks behind Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm out in the country.
I'm at least a week behind your garden, Mike. I mean, you've got all this stuff flowering and I don't have.
And again, a lot of it, as Melinda says, is the heat island. So I get the benefit of that here. Which will not be good once, the average temperature is 97. But right now it's a good thing.
And I think that's a great point to keep in mind because go with what you've got in. And so I've delayed planting knowing that. I have a lot of transplants under lights inside. My tropicals I'm going to start, I thought maybe this coming week, but maybe I'll wait, giving them that hardening off. I have shrubs I've overwintered in my unheated garage. I'm popping those on carts. I found that works great for me. My car sits outside. I have a driveway, so I'm lucky that way. And then I roll them out to start hardening them off, and then I can just roll the cart in on the cold days. And so the only thing up, my asparagus is just peeking through. My rhubarb, if rhubarb freezes, don't use those stems. That I was reading from some university that I think it's oxalic acid in the leaf part, that flat blade that we don't eat that's poisonous, can move down the stem if it's frost damage. So just compost those frosted ones. You'll know if it's limp. You wouldn't want to eat them anyway, but throw them in the compost pile. They'll send up more leaves. So I was debating, do I cover my rhubarb? There's always more that I need. So I think I'll let it, I'll take my chances.
Yeah. One other thought I had on the floating row covers that I've used to hold things in place, especially if going around a flowering shrub like I did on my pawpaws last year. Plain old wooden clothespins. They're
and
really good
go and
for, that's how you secure it.
Ah,
And
good
in
point.
the media world, they call them, I think they're R57s. And I was with a video crew, and I'm like, what are those? And they're just the clips, and I'm sure they cost a lot more money than if you buy the regular clips,
That's
right?
not, no. You got to have the wooden ones. I'm going to run out and I'll show you a
Yeah,
close up.
I
The
no, the
wooden
plain
ones.
that
old wooden
Yeah.
clothespins work fabulously to secure floating row covers.
and then go buy them where they sell them as clothespins, or you'll pay more
Yes,
because they'll call them row
yes.
Oh,
cover
yeah.
holders,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're the
Don't do
same
that. Yeah.
thing. Good
Don't.
point.
Or you can
And
pick them
maybe
up
I'm going to
used a
cover
lot
my
too.
viburnum now that you mentioned that. So maybe I need to cover my
Yeah.
viburnum. It's got a few, and my Daphne is getting ready to bloom. So yeah,
See, you're
maybe I
in
need to
that,
cover
right. With
those.
me, mine are wide open. They've been open for a week on the
Yeah.
viburnum. I don't care at this point.
My
I
my
do.
pear tree's getting ready to bloom.
Yeah. My crab is getting ready to bloom, but it's 25 feet tall, so there's nothing I'm going to do about that. Uh,
Exactly.
but Jeannie asks, woodland phlox. What about that's just starting to bloom? Will the weather kill off the blooms there, or and again, it's going to depend. As Rick said, he calls a hard freeze 4 hours or more at 28 degrees or less. That's his definition
Yeah.
of a hard freeze. Okay. So you have to think about that because if it dips down to 29 or 30 for an hour, it's usually not going to cause a severe problem.
And depending on what's over top, granted, your tree leaves are probably not out, but there might be enough structure from the trees, because you notice when frost settles too, it frosts in open air, the frost settles in
Yeah.
open areas, low spots. I woke up one morning, I'm looking out the window and I'm like, what is that stuff? What is it? It was frost, but it was just in a pocket low on the property, and I didn't see it anywhere else.
Mhm.
So again, kind of losing something to frost is very sad, but it's an opportunity to learn. Okay, make a note if you need to. Hey, when frost is in the forecast, the hard freeze, then these are things I'm going to cover because they're worth the effort and they're more susceptible. So good question.
Yeah.
No, we
And
didn't give a definite answer, but good
So
question.
but
we've got a few other questions
I
here
know,
too.
but
So
remember also that a lot of spring blooming plants are pretty tough. And
especially
Exactly.
natives.
we're in April,
Mhm.
so you're not getting 12 degrees out there generally in April.
Yeah.
It's something in the 20s.
Yeah, the trillium, the Mayapples will all just keep going.
And last year, I think it was last year, we had a really cold snap, and I have a yellow magnolia, and I had some peaches that were in bloom, and I'm like, "Pff, these are not going to make it." And they made it, and it was
Yeah.
in the 20s, but it was for a short period. And
Right.
again, they were too big to cover, so it was kind of like, well, no peaches this year.
Yeah,
And I was lucky. We got
and
bloom. They survived.
I had the Channel 5 crew come out to my house several years ago, the day before one of our April snows, and I had everything blooming out in
yeah.
front, and they were it never made it on the air, but you know how
Okay.
those things go.
Yeah.
And they said, "So what are you going to do to protect them?" I said, "Nothing. It's going to snow.
Nothing.
What do I care?" It's and a few of them drooped, and then they bounced back, and that's what
Yeah.
happens for a lot. And if
Scott
it
just said his pansies got frosted and came right back scoffing at the frost.
well, pansies are
I
tough. Okay.
Exactly. And my kale, like yours, mine overwintered. It looks great.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's
Oh
on
no,
its
that was
own, and
last
it
year.
will
This
take the
year
cold.
it didn't make
Oh,
it.
didn't it? We
Last
had
year
enough
it made
snow too.
yeah.
It insulated
Well, it
everything.
did,
But
and it
yeah.
came up in through this when the snow disappeared. I thought it was going to make it this year, and
Yeah.
it has just
Oh,
declined and
Well,
declined and
no,
declined, and now
we
it's
got
gone.
4 years, right? You said you got four
No,
years
no, no.
out of the
That was
pot.
the
Oh, that was.
broccolini.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but the
Well, I
kale
had
was
covered my kale with a double row of
o-
the heavy floating row cover,
Okay.
and it made it through wonderfully.
yeah.
That
All
was
right.
Mine
enough
had
to keep it.
snow, so I was lucky. Okay.
All right, all right. We've got there's just this is great though. We've got
Yeah.
lots of. I have a question that a friend of mine he sent me a text with some photos, and he sent this, and he said it looks like onions are growing in. It's I know it's kind of hard to see, but it looks like onions are growing in my lawn.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought I would ask the expert here what we're witnessing. And the question is, there's lots of types of allium out there and onions. And by the way, he said
You should see my lawn.
this is what he's growing elsewhere in his yard. Those look like, boy, they look like the Egyptian onion to me.
Right,
Yeah,
the
those look like
walking
the walking
onions.
onions.
Walking
Yeah.
onion. So if we go
Or
back
Egyptian,
to,
yeah.
but this is coming up in his lawn, and I said to him, you could probably dig it up and transplant it if you really want to, but it looks like he's got so many, I don't think he needs. I don't know how many onions
No,
do you need.
and there's tiny, tiny, tiny if that's what I think it is, tiny bulblets everywhere underneath it.
So
They're in everybody's lawns around here.
what I wanted to ask you, Melinda, is are these onions sending seeds out? Is that how they're reproducing in the lawn, or is there something else going on?
So, and Peggy, see, I grow chives and I love them as an ornamental, but they're taking over my garden and I'm
Hmm.
digging them up and they are everywhere and the seeds spread. And that's how alliums spread. They'll send out bulblets, okay? And then they also produce seeds and they're tiny seeds and they can travel pretty far and birds can take them and you can spread them. And Peggy, are you thinking a particular onion, like one of the wild onions or garlic that's
These are the
kind of
ones
one
I'm thinking of. They are everywhere, and they get the yellow flowers with a little bit of green on them and star of something or another.
Oh no, that's Star of
Star of
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem is a
No,
lot,
that's
is shorter. Is
that's not an allium though.
shorter.
This is
They're
this
about
is
Yeah, because the ones that I'll have to send a photo, but these are a good 6 to 8 inches. Most of these,
but this looks
and
to
they're in the
me
lawns.
looks like an allium. And I said, pinch the leaf and tell me if you get an onion smell. And he also wanted to know, can I eat them? Well, yeah, I take my ornamental chives and we use them in our salads, and they're fantastic.
And Peggy brings up a good point. When you send a picture, because I do work with Birds in Bloom magazine, and I get pictures from all over, and I keep saying, tell me where you live, when it's blooming, and how big it is, because pictures are really deceiving when
Yeah.
you look at them. I mean, that had some good scale to it, and there were three of us to kind of go back and forth and say, what do you think? So that always helps. But the more information you provide somebody, whether you're going to the garden center, you're sending something here to the show, it's just really helpful because it narrows, oh, well, you're in this area, that wouldn't grow here. Or, oh, it's that size. Okay, we can rule those out. Oh, it bloomed now. Then that helps. And the color of the flower too. If you ever look at a weed book, when people bring me leaves in baggies, when I make live appearances in the spring, I'm sure you guys have received those too. Is it a weed or is it a flower? Sometimes
Yeah.
there's so many leaves that look alike, and I'll send them home and say, well, send me a picture when it's in bloom.
And please don't open the baggie. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, after my hand's in there,
Yeah,
you think
okay.
it's poison ivy?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you told me.
Or
That's happened too many times.
and don't dump it out in the woods when you leave here. Okay, please don't do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
And I can understand why garden centers, they're just terrified that people are going to bring in, their instructions are please seal the bag tightly and leave it in the bag, and then we'll figure out what to do with it. All right, we have just a few minutes left. I have to do one of these for you.
Can I ask one quick question?
Oh,
'Cause
sure.
Judy wanted clarification. What was
right.
the invasive white flowering tree to avoid?
Yeah, and that is calorie pear. And whether, the famous one is Bradford pear.
Bradford.
And spell calorie. 'Cause it's not calorie.
Callery. All right. And
the other problem is they have beautiful fall color, but if you're in the north, the frost often kills it before you get the fall color. So another reason not to plant if invasiveness isn't enough. Sorry to interrupt.
No. You should interrupt. And the problem is what they're going to tell you is, oh, well, this one's sterile. And what we're finding out is one sterile variety can combine with a different sterile variety and have offspring. And they're showing up, and along interstates particularly, you see these white blooms everywhere in the Midwest. It's a problem. And okay, here's where I get in my soapbox a little bit, is the industry still sells them. All right. And they know better. The the gardening industry knows better. I went to a conference, it must have been 6 or 7 years ago, on invasive plants, and the industry is saying, well, just you got to give us 5 years because we got inventory. Well, it's 6 or 7 years now. Have you gotten rid of all your calorie pears? No, they have not. So there's my soapbox. I'm sorry. And I know that you deal with nurseries more than I do, so you don't have to say anything at all, Melinda. I'm just being the radio guy here.
Well, and they hire me because they know I'm going to say provide good advice, whether it's something they sell or not.
Yeah,
So
I just
I
makes
only work with those companies that will let me
well,
say what is the truth.
right.
So, and then people make that decision. You're right. And
And,
I hear what you're saying, and I talk to them as well about what are you selling?
and you can
It's
still
a
buy,
problem.
burning bushes and
Yeah. And chokeberry is such a better option. The fall color is brilliant. It has flowers, it has fruit. For even if you don't care about invasiveness, chokeberry is native and a better option. I
And
mean,
what
you
and what do
got
you see in these big box stores? You see burning bush, you see barberry, you see euonymus, and you go, come on, there are so many better options than that. Yeah, it's just garbage. What are you selling
Yeah, and
people?
it leads to the bigger of how do you change the perception of what people think they want in their lawn or in their yard.
well, good. That's a good point, and that's our job, right? Is to help them see other opportunities.
All right, let's take. Oh, and by the way,
That's
Scott.
another hour of show.
Right. And Scott says concern for magnolia blooms always this time of year. So if you've got a magnolia, you're just crossing your fingers right now. If you're in the Chicago and Midwest area where we're going to get some cold weather in the next few days and it's just about to bud, or it is budding rather, yeah, you're crossing your fingers because this is the upper range for magnolias.
The little girl series sometimes will put out sporadic blooms later in the season, not that big glorious spring show or the one you watched killed by the frost, but sometimes you'll get some sporadic bloom like on Betty and Jane and Anne later in the season. So if you're thinking small scale, that kind of hedges your bets a little bit.
All right, let's show this because I'm determined. I loaded four of these. Okay,
And you figured it out.
okay. I'm gonna hit the button. There's no sound at the beginning. I don't know why that is. We'll ask Melinda when we finish this. But here you go.
Increase your gardening success by selecting plants suited to your cold hardiness zone and other environmental conditions. Hardiness zones reflect the average minimum temperatures for an area. Buying cold hardy plants helps reduce losses when extreme winter temperatures occur. You'll find the USDA Plant Hardiness Map printed in garden books and catalogs. Locate your town on the map and match the color of your region on the map key. Or enter your zip code at the USDA Plant Hardiness Map website, and your hardiness zone and minimum winter temperature range will appear. Each hardiness zone represents areas within a 10-degree Fahrenheit range of minimum temperatures. This zone is subdivided into 5-degree segments to more precisely represent that area within each zone. The lower the number, the colder the winter temperatures. I'm Melinda Myers. Check out our website for this and other gardening tips.
That's Melinda Myers. She's good. Why don't you do stuff like that, Melinda?
I have to tell you a funny story. I was doing a workshop for some preschoolers, and this little girl goes, "My grandma and I watch a woman that's the same name on, the radio TV station." I said, "Well, that's me." "No, that wasn't you. It's someone else named Melinda Myers." I went, "Well, I'll have to check her out." You don't
It's my
argue
evil
with a
twin.
4-year-old. Exactly.
No, the other one is spelled Meyers.
Exactly.
So,
Oh, too funny.
okay. Well, I think we're about out of time here, which is, you know what, and that's the thing. You're welcome, Judy. Judy thanked us for giving her the name of a cat. If you're going to buy a pear tree, Judy, ask them, is that a calorie pear? And they'll tell you. I mean, you can look it up. I mean, that's what I did with the red spire, and I went, "Oh, it's a calorie pear." No, don't get that. But it's just that there are so many great trees out there, and if you can get a native, that'd be fantastic. If you can get an oak, but not everybody wants a huge tree. Some they want smaller trees, and they want trees that with spectacular blooms. Well, get a redbud, get an amelanchier, get a hawthorn, get. We did have somebody real quick. Melinda, ask about planting a spice bush.
Nine bark and spice bush.
Yeah, what you got any planting advice for those?
They're both great plants. Nine bark, I was just reading an article about the nativars, the cultivar of the nine bark, and there's a lot of debate on cultivars of native plants. But with your nine bark, well, both of them, good bright sunlight, morning sun at least for the viburnum. If you can get full sun all day for the nine bark, you'll have fewer problems. Some of the newer introductions are more powdery mildew resistant. So look for that. On Diablo, got bigger than most people planned and had a lot of problems with mildew. So some of the newer introductions, very scaly bark, which is beautiful against the winter sky. The foliage is nice. Their flowers are not as noticeable. I think the fruit can be very interesting. I have Amber Jubilee. I love the orange. It's a cultivar of our native nine bark, but it's got orange, green, and purple leaves, and they're just emerging, and they look beautiful in the garden. So lots of color as the leaves emerge, and they hold most of it throughout the summer.
Well, all I got to say to you is that we were hoping to put you on the spot.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
So that was. You know what I discovered in going through all these clips is that all the funny stuff that's on TV today, Monty Python did it 40 years ago and did it better. One more.
Our chief weapon is surprise. Surprise and fear. Fear and surprise. Our two weapons are fear and surprise and ruthless efficiency. Our three weapons are fear and surprise and ruthless efficiency and an almost fanatical devotion to the Pope. Our four.
I miss Python.
Oh,
yes.
Here we go. Melinda, as always, I don't know why we don't do this every. Oh, I know why we don't do this every week, because you're busy. You've got stuff to do.
Well,
It only
invite me back.
us for so long.
I got to space out my visits so the joy lasts a long time.
And
I'm not buying it. Okay.
and you're going to do Wonderful Slice with us again this December, right?
I'm coming costumed, and I'm gonna do a better job. So let me tell you, I'll be ready.
She's practicing already.
The
I am.
costume as God or as Violet? That's what I want to know.
As God, because I could wear a robe and cover all of the sins of the holidays.
Okay.
Violet don't have the.
All right.
figure for.
One more plug. So your free online seminar Tuesday, May 4th. Spring flowering shrubs, 6:30 to 7:15. Register at pasquazi.com.
Thank you much. I hope a lot of you can join me. We'll have a lot of fun. Not this much, but a little bit fun.
Spell the name of Mike's beautiful yellow flowers on his tree. That's FLOWERS.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you meant.
There comes a tomato. You need a virtual tomato.
Oh, okay. That's Caria japonica, KERRIA, Japonica, as in Japan, JAPONICA. So, and one more. This is really good. The great way to end things here is that Judy writes, Google hates all 65 of my passwords. So, so it's
Sorry,
not
Judy, to laugh,
but it's not Judy. It's her
No,
husband.
it's not even Judy.
Oh.
It's her husband, and that's the other thing. Google hates your own account because you have to go by your wife's account. So Google hates all 65 of my passwords, so I'm using my wife Judy's account. Come hate Google with me. Well, hell, yeah, I'll do that.
add them to your list, Mike.
I already got Facebook and Amazon and a whole bunch of people on that list already. So there we go.
Okay.
Melinda, you have a great Sunday. We'll talk to you.
You guys too.
Very, very soon, and you'll get through the freeze on Tuesday, I'm sure.
You guys too will compare notes or dead black leaves, but the plants will be fine.
All right. It's the Mike Nowak
you guys.
You bet. Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We're talking Earth Day when we come back.
The best thing about my job is the excitement of waking up every morning just wondering what the challenges are going to be that day.
So how do you like my office?
We lead with safety. It's the first thing that I think about when I wake up. It's the last thing I think about when I go to bed.
We've got a number of employees in the office, myself included, who've been around for sort of 10, 15 plus years. So people enjoy working for the company. Staff retention's a thing that we're very, very keen on.
It's no secret that the world of arboriculture is a male-dominated industry, but there is a fearless group of women out there that are determined to change that, and I'm really proud to be one of those women.
At my office, I feel like you could take just about anyone, put a crew together, and send them out to a job and have it be successful. And that has to do with trusting the people you work with, feeling safe around them, and knowing their strengths and weaknesses.
One of the proudest moments working with Bartlett for me was being the first to do training in a Spanish class.
Ya rompe el screen porch, el aire acondicionado.
Bartlett is all about promoting from within. We really want to focus on our people and make sure that they're trained, make sure that they understand their role, and you slowly grow through your experience, and then you improve and move on to different roles within the company.
There's always new positions, even at a base level, myself included. I started off as a climber and have worked my way through to being local manager in the office.
Bartlett has been really great about recognizing any kind of roadblocks for different genders, different races, people of different nationalities, and just kind of taking a bulldozer to all of those roadblocks.
Every tree needs a champion.
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 Welcome to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio with just a soupçon of humor. Or is that a dash? Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com. Here they are again, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
All I need is good food to eat and make me healthy, wealthy, wide awake. Lettuce, tomatoes, rooted bacon. What about those sweet potatoes? All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good tools to make me music, porches, lawn serene.
And welcome back. I'm trying to...
So I'm looking at the kale that you just showed. That's the kale that overwintered.
Your kale. Okay.
Yeah, the kale in one of those photos.
Cool.
Still there. And yeah, we now know who Judy's husband is. It's Bob.
Oh, I know.
The Rogers Park stalker.
Bob's got
of non-recycling city trashmen.
Right. I have to tell you a story about Bob and I going out and trying to see if some trucks were throwing recycling into the trash. And we had an adventure back in January. It was kind of entertaining. And the next time I do, and we're going to have Marta Keene from Will County, a recycling specialist there, on the show in May. And we're going to talk about the developments in the city of Chicago. They fired Waste Management and they hired Lakeshore Recycling, which I think is a good thing.
That's the hauler up here.
Will it
in Lake
fix?
County.
Yeah. Will it fix our problem? Probably not. But it's got to be a good first step. And there's a report coming out from the Delta Institute on recycling. My question when I found out about Lakeshore, and I posted this on social media, was why didn't the city wait until after the report from Delta before they moved and changed their provider? But that's up to them. But Waste Management set a pretty low bar, so it can't be much worse than it is now in the city of Chicago. I was jealous because, speaking about composting, I went to the IFC, the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition, and IFSC. They have a list of municipalities in the region that do food scrap composting, and it's huge. And we can't even get yard waste picked up in the city of Chicago. They're violating state law, have been for ever for at least 25 years. And then they say, well, you know, I sat in a meeting when I was with the Chicago Recycling Coalition with some lawyers who said, yeah, you could pursue this, but they'd find a way to dodge it with the fine points of the law, so it's not really worth it. And I went, oh, okay, so yeah, let's just violate state law and not pick up yard waste. Okay. So I should have had this ready ahead of time. Give me talk amongst yourselves, Peggy.
Well, we got a comment from Scott who says, we, Bartlett, trimmed the great London plane tree to the left of St. George's Chapel for Prince Philip's funeral, and the tree looked amazing on camera.
Wow, that is so cool. Good for them. Good. Bartlett's terrific. They are just wonderful people, and they know what they're doing. And I'm looking for the information. Why don't I have?
There?
What's that?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for who we're gonna, and I should have all this in front of me, but I never know what I'm going to be talking about. There we go. This is my problem.
This is a surprise?
Yeah, I know. Benjamin Crumstock, who's president of Composting Partners, is going to be with us in a couple of weeks to talk about composting and the various things that they're doing at the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition. Food Scrap Coalition. Too many acronyms. He was the one that had sent me all this. He sent this incredible email with all these links and all this information. I said, okay, come on, dude. He's been on the show before. I said, you got to come back on the show. Because composting is so important. Is one of the reasons we have Collective Resource Compost as a sponsor, because it's even if you can't do it in your own backyard, and I do it in my own backyard, you give them a bucket. Put your stuff in a bucket. So
you'll come pick it up.
Anyway, welcome to Earth Week coming up this week.
Mm-hmm.
And
51st anniversary of the first Earth Day.
The first Earth Day. It's just terrifying when you can remember the first Earth Day and still be around.
And that was just about clean air at that point
in
1970.
And so there's going to be a lot going on this week. And one of the things I've done, if you go to the website, MikeNowak.net, scroll down to Celebrate Earth Week 2021.
Mm-hmm. On this week's blog.
On this week's blog post. Yeah, you got to go to the top of the page. Actually, Kathleen puts a link. If you just go to the home page and you're watching the show there, and I hope you are.
I just put the link up there and restream.
Yeah, she says she has the, you just click on the link there. It says practical and reliable talk from Melinda Myers. And I didn't even mention that. I should have said that while she was on. I stole that from her website because I was doing my speaking of computer apps and stuff, I was doing my very hated SEO as I was putting the blog together. And of course, those of you who are in the biz know it means search engine optimization, EU. And I'm trying to figure out a headline. And I go to Melinda's site, and it says something about practical and reliable.
And that's already been SEO tested.
It's been SEO tested, and I popped it in. I went, wow, it's giving me a great score. So I'm just going to steal it for the show. And so I did. I just stole it. I said, I don't care. She's on the show anyway. So you just, if you go to watch the show, you click on that, and that will take you to the blog post. And then you scroll down the blog post. You can also hit blog at the top of the page if you want to see it as well. Mm-hmm. And you scroll down and Celebrate Earth Week. And the first thing I want to talk about is our friends at the One Earth Film Festival. Boy, my dingers are just, they don't even sound like, yeah, you got your masculine dinger there. There we go.
Excuse me?
Your powerful dinger. Yes. With the smiley face, of course, too. Yeah, okay. Okay, I take it all back. I take it all back. Well, maybe I need to do mine here.
As opposed to, where's my other dinger?
Ooh. All right.
This one is tuned to A sharp.
Does it really say that?
Uh-huh. It says it.
Oh,
right,
my goodness. What's this one tuned to?
It's tuned to the next commercial break.
That's right. So the One Earth Film Festival is doing what it has done in the past. Is they're having an Earth Week mini fest this week, starting tomorrow, from and then through the 25th, which is next Sunday. And it's going to feature 7 outstanding feature-length films and 14 shorts. There's really a lot going on. You should go to oneearthfilmfest.org and get all the information. But
go ahead.
Well,
you're probably going to talk about it.
Yeah. So. One of the films, I'm all set. You don't know. You have no idea. I am ready to go here with this. One of the films is a reprise of their festival that they held in March. It's called Dolores, and it's about Dolores Huerta, one of the most important yet least known activists in American history. And I enjoyed showing their film trailers back before the festival in March so much. I said, you know what, let's do another one, because these are, I think our audience learns so much from just watching a film trailer, and rather than you and I talking about this, it's just watch this and be inspired and then sign up for the film festival. So let's take a look at this trailer.
Dolores is an icon.
She's a civil rights hero. She's the first general that I followed into war.
She's not afraid to speak truth to power.
Dolores Huerta, who is an old friend of mine.
The FBI knew how dangerous Dolores was. Dolores came up with the slogan, Si se puede.
Yes, we can.
You were a young girl growing up in America in the 40s. You must have had a dream.
After I had seen the miserable conditions of farm workers, Cesar Chavez said, we have to organize a union. You had this ambience all around you that you could really change the world.
It was beyond question the largest gathering on behalf of farm workers in California history.
I wish they'd all go back to where they came from. We have no labor troubles.
She wasn't asking for permission. She just did what needed to be done.
She has such a firm belief in what she's doing.
We've never given up.
That she infects you with it.
Dolores Huerta.
90,000 people were poisoned in the fields of the United States of America.
The farm workers founded the whole idea of environmental justice.
Men were threatened by her power.
She's a very volatile individual.
She's an insult.
People wanted to see her in a more traditional role.
I left a couple of my children behind.
That's part of the sacrifice that we made and that we had to make.
And it still pains me when I think about it.
People in power have no idea of the true heroes of this country.
I would not have been able to see what's hidden in the fields of our country without Dolores.
We're knee-deep in sexism when it comes to why she isn't studied and why people don't know her.
Latina girls need to see statues of you. We really got to set the record straight. I mean, women cannot be written out of history.
Down with violence! Abajo! Down with racism! Abajo! Down with sexism! Abajo!
And if that doesn't inspire you to sign up for the One Earth Film Festival Mini Fest this week during Earth Week, I don't know what will. Some of the other films that are going to be shown this week are I Am Greta, A Force of Nature, The Condor and the Eagle, Closing the Loop, a documentary about the circular economy revolution, Mossville, When Great Trees Fall, To Which We Belong, and The Great Green Wall. So we hope folks take advantage of that. And again, go to oneearthfilmfest.org. Anything you want to add about that, Peggy?
Oh, there's just so much going on this week for Earth Day, and a lot of it's virtual, so it makes it even easier sometimes than showing up in person. But there are some in-person events too that we found.
Right. But you also said there was some stuff going on over the next couple of weeks at the Medewan National
At
Tall Grass.
Medewan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Medewan has a variety of different things happening. On Earth Day, we've got there's the whole Pedal the Prairie. There's a lot of new bike share stations that have gone in to Medewan. But their silver anniversary panel discussion is at 6 p.m. on April 22nd, Thursday, Earth Day. It's their 25th anniversary, as we've talked about on the show before, and a special panel discussion is going to feature Paul Botts, President and Executive Director of the Wetlands Initiative, Allison Cisneros of Medewan and the Nature Conservancy, Jerry Heinrich of Medewan Alliance, Gail Pindus of the Medewan Heritage Association, and Joe Roth from Open Lands. And you can register if you go to the Medewan's website. That is a free Earth Day celebration happening there at 6 o'clock.
And hold on.
And
Sorry.
there's Sarah Botka mentioned on 4/24. There is I've just lost it. There is a compost collection event at Plant Chicago.
Where did she mention this?
That's up in the feed. If you go to illinois.edu/compost April 24th.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Morton Arboretum has
I'll tell you, as long as folks are putting that, if you've got Earth Day events that are you're going to be, about or you're participating in, please pop them up there right now. And a couple of people commented on Dolores Huerta. Mark says I met her at a couple of CTA state council meetings. Powerful lady. She's 90 years old, by the way. And, if you haven't heard about her, don't be surprised, because this is the way we roll in America. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine was writing an educational report recently about power, socioeconomic power. And it's not about, or minorities. That was it. It was about a minority. And what constitutes a minority? A minority is not the number of people. It's the amount of power you have. So women outnumber men in America, but they're still a minority because they don't have the same power that men have. And of course, you can extend that to blacks and Latinos and Asians and LGBTQ and just keep naming minorities. White men represent 30% of the population and 70% of Congress. And that 70% is the lowest number ever. So still, they represent more than twice. They have more than twice their numbers represented in Congress. And all those groups that I mentioned before have not had their stories told. So when you say, why have I never heard of Dolores Huerta? It's because, sorry, white men want it that way. And so you've got to break through, and you've got to do your history. You've got to learn your history about other cultures. And I would say races, but there are no races. That was the other thing.
And see who wrote the history books that you're researching in.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, so thank you, Mark, for that comment. Topic. And Eric says the mic, it says, writes to us, it says the Huerta film is excellent. So obviously somebody who watched it in the spring. So there you go. And if you've got more events coming up, let us know and we'll pop them on. But meanwhile, you were talking about Sarah Batka's.
Sarah mentioned there's a compost collection event on the 24th at Plant Chicago. And she says go to illinois.edu/compost April 24th. I know there's a lot of other compost events, recycling events happening all over the place, city and suburbs. The Cook County Forest Preserve District, as well as some of the other Forest Preserve districts, have lots of cleanups happening.
Well, we got the links to that. If you go to again my blog post and scroll down, there's a list. There are park cleanups from Friends of the Parks, Forest Preserve of Cook County activities, suburban events. Daily Herald had a list of them, and then some other Chicago events, and they're all there. And a lot of them are cleanups. And some of the cleanups, you have to be careful because if there's a small area, and they're social distancing, they might be filled. So you might need to check and you might need to register. In the old days, you would just show up. That's not the way the world works in 2021.
Marta says Will County's offering a webinar free on April 23rd on home composting. You can go to willcountygreen.com.
Thank you, Marta, and we're looking forward to having you on the show in a few weeks to talk composting. There's
no shortage of events. Let's put it that way. You can go to, some you can do virtually. I'm looking here at the 11th annual Champion of Trees 10K Run and Walk at the Morton Arboretum. It's pre-registered. You can do it in person, but you can also do a virtual run and walk, supporting the Arboretum's work to plant and protect trees.
And I also know that City of Chicago, I believe if probably easiest place to find it is your alderman's office, and you can do cleanup in your own yard, not in your yard, but on your own block, and they'll get you equipment, gloves, and implements of destruction to rake up. Boy, and I can tell you, there's a building down the block that I would like to give some rakes and gloves to clean up their mess. But and you can clean up your what? You got a problem with that? I'm the guy that goes out in my alley is cleaning up the garbage area of my neighbors because it's a mess. I can't deal with it. All right. I'm the
guy across the alley. Yeah.
The guy across the alley is nuts. All right. So I don't want to even deal with him. He's the guy whose car caught on fire, and suddenly the fire department's there, and I'm like, what's going on behind my house? And I go open my garage door, and there's smoke pouring out of the garage behind me, and the fire department's there, and he's going, oh, it's okay, everything's okay. What? Okay, great, terrific. This is my neighbors. Welcome to Logan Square. All right, before we break here, we need to let folks know that the 60-second garden video challenge returns.
Oh,
yeah. There we go. And I've got one. Whoop, wrong way. There we go. Next to my hippie astrums there.
Oh, yes. Okay, here we go, because by next week they won't be blooming anymore.
And mine won't be either. Those are going to be done. They're going to be gone. So get a good look. Wait, should I spin them? I'm afraid if I spin them, they'll just flop. Anyway, so
I can see them.
So last year, the Chicago Excellence in Gardening Awards, which, as you might know, is an organization comprised of a bunch of organizations, about 8 of us.
Nonprofit.
501c3. How about that? And started by people like Peggy and me, and Chicago Park District, the Forest Preserve District of Cook County, Chicago Flower and Garden Show, Chicago Community Gardeners Association, Cook County Extension, Shed Aquarium, and we...
Advocates for Urban Agriculture.
Right, and for the first 3 years, before we had a pandemic, we were able to go and judge people's gardens and give them wonderful awards that the Forest Preserve District put together, these great signs. And now, last year, we did the 60-second garden video challenge, where you show us your garden in 60 seconds and post it to ChicagoGardeningAwards.org, or is it Garden Awards? I always...
Either one will get you there.
Yeah, ChicagoGardeningAwards.org. And then we look at them, and basically they just need to be under 60 seconds. I think we gave people a bonus of 2 seconds, all right? Otherwise, then we call them and say, no, it's too long. And try not to use copyrighted music. That would be a really good thing, because we don't want YouTube to blacklist us. and then just send it in. It doesn't matter if you're in Illinois or anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. Yeah. I mean, it used to be just Chicago, but now.
And the cool thing this year,
Yeah.
we're doing 2 of them.
Oh.
So before the snow hits, get out there and start taking some photos today for the May-June contest.
Well, yeah, there's a May-June contest for all those people who say, well, you should have seen my garden in May. Well, now you can, all right? And so we're going to give away prizes for the best gardens in May, and then May and June, and then July and August. So there's a spring session and a summer session, and it's there's the 2 categories are individuals and institutions, and it's a people's choice deal. And I know some people are not crazy about that, but basically it's get your friends to vote. You got to give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Not a thumbs down. We don't want to see thumbs down. Although, what is with the people on YouTube? There's always somebody out there who's going to give you a thumbs down. It's like, why are you here? I'm sure there's people who just go through YouTube giving thumbs down. You see a video, it's got 17 million views, and it's got 47,000 thumbs up, and then there's 17 thumbs down. You go, who are those people? Who are those people? But in ours, we would hope you just give them thumbs up. And if you vote for
give them a thumbs up, and it's people's choice. Yeah.
Okay. So again, go to ChicagoGardeningAwards.org. I can see Rick DiMaio getting ready here, so we need to take a short break. And when we come back, it's Weather and Climate with the man himself. We'll be right back. You have the ability to give your soil a superpower. It's called composting. If you don't have a backyard, you need to contact Collective Resource Compost. CRC has diverted 7,000 tons of food scraps since 2010. They bring you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter from your kitchen, they swap it out and get it to a commercial composting operation. Fight climate change. Go to collectiveresource.us.
At this time of year, we spend a lot of time indoors with our plants, so help them thrive. The plants you're viewing were treated with LeafZyme, a foliage spray designed to activate beneficial microbes already present on the leaves. A spritz every few weeks promotes growth-enhancing microorganisms that process dust and other particles into nutrition that indoor plants can absorb through their leaves for beautiful and vigorous growth. Go to blazing-star.com and check out their BioGarden line for home gardeners.
From small boat fishermen to your dinner table with safe, free, no-contact delivery. Sitka Salmon Shares brings premium wild Alaska seafood to your door. They're a community-supported fishery offering shares just like your local CSA. All fish is wild caught in season with respect for the limits of the ocean. Line caught and traceable to their fleet. Use promo code NOVAC25 for $25 off the first month of a share. Go to sitkasalmonshares.com/NOWAK. I ducked out for a second, and part of the problem is I didn't get back in time to set this up properly. So now
left the show.
I left the show.
Oh boy!
All right, because there we go. And now let's bring in this guy. There he is. He's in the corner.
Poof! There he goes.
Yikes! Okay.
Can I get my other nostril real quickly?
Okay. That's all we got. We'll see you later, Rick. Okay, you're out of there. All right.
I just sneezed. I want to make sure I didn't have anything hanging from my nostril.
Oh yeah, we want to make sure of that too. So great, thank you.
Hey, I'm on Zoom literally. Oh God, 24 hours a week. No, almost 27 hours during the course of the week.
Mm-hmm. Too many.
So I got to look good.
That's true.
Good, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so
up close, not good far away, good up close.
Professor DiMaio, we're ready for your close-up.
That's right.
Hey, wait. What's the next line? It's something about the pictures the screen hasn't gotten small, the pictures have got small. Is that the line, Peg?
Something like that. Yeah, it's.
Oh, come on. Hey, Mike, Peg just gave me the line from Sunset Boulevard.
I know what she's doing. Mm-hmm. I know. I know exactly
But
what
I don't
it is.
remember the next line.
But the next line is...
I'm sure one of our listeners will know.
Like
all right.
this.
Let's have our listeners give us that next line because it's something like...
They'll win something?
Yes, the winner.
Lunch with Rick DiMaio at his treat.
Yeah, at my pandemic pad, which is about to close down.
Yeah, really. Am I allowed to ask why? What's going on there? You said you're moving.
We've been renting this place. We've been renting this place for the last year, and the market has gotten hot. So the owner called us up and said, "I'm going to sell."
Huh.
And that's how things go. Yeah. So
Now you have to find another place that your map fits.
Peg knows me too well. We already found the place, and we've been over there a couple of times going, where's the map going to go? Yeah.
That's the map behind you for listeners who aren't aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for listeners and viewers,
and there's the map right now in the background. All right, let's get the map there. There he is. There's the map. You can see it over his left shoulder. The map.
Yep. Left shoulder. How about both shoulders?
Okay, sure.
How about both shoulders?
There you go.
Look at that.
There you go.
Look at that. Yeah.
You're holding the whole country on your shoulders there, Rick.
Yeah, all lower 48, but it's pretty amazing. But the map is from like 40. And there's our duck. See our duck out there?
Yep.
See him?
Is that plastic?
So,
oh no, it's real. Okay.
Oh, it's real. Didn't you just hear it quack? I mean, look at that.
That was Peggy who's doing the quacking.
That's Basil.
Anyway, so yeah, we're out of here next week. So you won't have me on the show, by the way. I'll be too busy.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for letting us know, and we'll figure out how to fill in somehow. So
you'll do fine. But yeah, we're gonna miss this place because it's got basically our own resident ducks and squirrels, and there's a blue heron that hangs out there in the pond, and we're only about 2 blocks from Lovelace Park. At Lovelace Park, if anybody knows, basically on the northwest corner of Evanston and the border of Wilmette, is a lovely park with a huge pond. It's got a lot of ducks and a lot of geese, and I got a feeling that most of them come over here because Jax, come on.
So the line, by the way, thanks to both Ernest and Diana, I am big. It's the pictures that got smaller.
There you go.
There we go. Thank you, guys.
And spoken from Gloria Swanson, was it? I think that's who it was. Yeah,
I believe so.
Anyway, yeah, and William Holden. Yeah, the movie actually starts out with him dead, and then it's all in basically flashbacks. But the bottom line is,
hey, thanks for the spoiler alert.
Oh boy.
Well. 30 seconds into the movie, he's alive. So you realize that the person that is in the water is him. I mean, it's not that hard. Yeah.
And by the way,
go on.
Rosebud was his sled.
A different movie, yeah.
I know. I'm just giving you another spoiler. Okay. Right. Just letting you know.
Yeah. And she could have gotten home at any point. If she just flicked her heels together, she could have just gotten home.
Because it was all in her mind. She's psycho. All right.
Right. All right. And the fourth and final spoiler alert is that climate change is real. How about that?
No, come on. That's just crazy. You're not talking about like ridiculous hurricanes in spring, are you?
Tropical cyclones.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, this was actually a typhoon because in that part of the Pacific Ocean, in between the dateline and the Malaysian Peninsula, they're called typhoons. Once you get on the other side of the Malaysian Peninsula, they're called tropical cyclones. So thanks for that.
And why is that?
You know what, Peg? I think it's just because the way they started naming these back during mariners back in the 1800s. The word typhoon has a derivation of to turn and to spin, whereas the word hurricane is actually huracan, which is an acronym for the Caribbean god of evil. So what they ended up doing was everywhere east of the dateline, there are hurricanes in both the East Pacific and the West Atlantic. Everywhere east, or actually west of the dateline to about the Malaysian Peninsula, they're called typhoons. And everywhere in the Indian Ocean basin, they're called tropical cyclones. And one of the reasons why we do it that way is tropical cyclones are monitored by the Indian Weather Agency as well as the Australian Meteorological Agency. Mm-hmm. Once you get into the West Pacific, they're monitored by the Japanese Meteorological Agency. In the Pacific, they're monitored by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, which is between the U.S. and Japan. And then once you get into the Atlantic Basin, they're monitored by the United States or the National Hurricane Center. So we do it according to how the geo-referencing of the storms relates to the area forecast centers. But this particular storm, called Surigay, Surigae, reached Category 5. And not only Category 5, but what we do in the Western Pacific, because storms can get so much stronger than a Cat 5. This was literally like a Cat 6. So we call this a super typhoon. And the winds
Look at the eye on that thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. How long ago was this photo? You sent this yesterday, so this must have been.
No, I might have sent that yesterday.
Yeah.
But I sent you an update this morning, which has a link to the Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies up in University of Wisconsin-Madison, when the typhoon reached wind speeds of up to 190 miles an hour. That was estimated by satellite, because obviously you can't record something like that with a land-based observation. But this became a Category 5 literally within less than 36 hours. It formed at about 6 degrees latitude north. Now, most hurricanes and typhoons and tropical cyclones, they can't be anywhere south of 5 because they don't feel the spin of the earth. That's the Coriolis effect. In other words, you'll never have a hurricane develop over the equator. You'll never have one cross it. So it's got to feel the spin of the earth. Huh. And literally it had everything going for it. Ocean temperatures were about 32 degrees centigrade, which is almost 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, that's warm. But it's always that warm at 5 degrees latitude. However, the upper levels that allowed this thing to develop and the low-level flow made this the strongest April typhoon ever. I mean, ever since 1950. That's going back 70 years. But you're talking only mid-April. You're not even talking May or June or July. Mm-hmm. This is like right off the bat, we went Cat 5 and we went super intensification, which is a sign of things to come. Now think about this. The only reason why this isn't big news is because it's staying away from the Philippines. Think about if this would have went probably another 50 to maybe 75 miles further west, they would have been on the western eye of it. And the problem that we continue to see with these rapidly intensifying storms is that people in developing nations don't get a chance to evacuate. They don't get a chance to go, you know what, we're going to get a Motel 6. We're going to put everybody in the van and we're going to take a flight to another part of the country to be safe. They don't have that option. That's what students have to know or learn or realize, is that those areas not only get hit, but get hit hard, and you have a huge loss of life. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we have all of these trees that are flowering like crazy, and I would not be surprised if every single magnolia tree that looks good now is done. All the flowers on it are gone by Tuesday afternoon. And this is what we worry about when we have these rapid warm-ups, third year in a row where we've hit 80 degrees, third year in a row where after we hit 80, we're going to get accumulating snow. And if we get 3 inches here, this will be the third year in a row we have more snow in the month of April than in the month of December. Those are crazy statistics that are becoming too normal.
Wow. And, you know, we were talking about that earlier, about magnolias in particular are the trees that will take a hit at this time. Although Melinda Myers, who's up in Milwaukee area, they're 2 weeks behind us. We have the same shrub. Hers is just starting to bud, and mine's in full flower. And so she's a little concerned about some of the buds there. But so given that, what exactly do you expect to happen come Tuesday?
Well, first off, springtime, any sort of late season or early season snow has got a lot more variables to it than a storm in the middle of the wintertime. Wintertime, it's cold enough. A lot of the motion in the atmosphere is horizontal. When you start to get temperature gradients of, say, 35 on the north side of the storm and 55 on the south, which could be the case in central Illinois, you begin to get more up and down, more vertical motion. That leads to what's called convection as opposed to advection. Advection is horizontal. Numerical models it's like a screen. So you have all of these lines that crisscross, and each one of those intersections has data on it. So if you think about it, horizontal moving air covers a much larger area of a numerical model. When you have convective motion, it's a much smaller area. So the numerical models have a more difficult time trying to figure out where these little spikes, these upward vertical spikes of energy are going to develop heavier rates of snowfall. Right now, it appears that we're headed for maybe 0.2 to maybe 0.4 of an inch of liquid water. That's kind of where you start out. Then you look at your surface temperatures. Are they cold enough to allow the snow to stick? At this point, they're kind of marginal. But even if you're snowing pretty good, moderate to heavy rates at 35 degrees, that snow literally drags the cold air down, and you'll get these little teeny little pockets of air moving downward that allows that snow not only get all the way down to the ground. I mean, we'll see snow, but whether or not it's covering the ground and whether or not it's accumulating is another story. Okay, that's another question. Whether or not the lake influence could actually warm things up enough where you're going to produce not wet snow but large raindrops, I think at this point is kind of minimal. I don't think the lake is going to have that much of an impact unless the winds are really light and the precipitation is really light. But I think this kind of setup, if you're looking at an area of most concern, you're probably talking LaSalle County, Cook County, southern McHenry, southern half of Lake County, southward all the way to Kankakee. There's a potential, if everything works out right, you can get 4 to 5 inches of snow easily. Now, even if the snow doesn't accumulate to 4 to 5 inches, because remember, wet snow compacts, we'll easily see at least, I would say, 6 to maybe 10 hours of precipitation where temperatures are going to be in the low to mid 30s. You'll have big raindrops, big snowflakes, and that alone will be enough to probably do some damage to the trees. Now, we've seen trees come back in the past before, but this year was a little bit different than years in the past where we were 80 degrees. That ground temperature is really warm. So I think you probably have to talk to someone with a little bit more knowledge about trees and bushes and flowering shrubs to see how much of the warmth of the air and the warmth of the ground has gotten these plants thinking that it's the second week of May and not the second week of April. You know what I'm saying from that standpoint? But overall, it's going to snow. It's going to, again, be a snow in April, which I know Peg has brought up, several times. We seem to be getting these late season snows. And this is this high degree of variability that we continue to see. We see it in October, and we're seeing it in April. It seems like more and more we're getting this, and every year we seem to be talking about it.
And I'm going to,
part of it.
This is the map you sent. This is the GFS model, which is
yesterday.
Is that yesterday?
No, that's from this morning.
That's from this morning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it says up on the top here, where it says up on the top right there, it says 0Z Sunday. That means that this model run is from Saturday night, but the forecast is for Tuesday morning, ending Wednesday. So I basically gave it a 24-hour shot. The other map that I sent you is the European model. If you want to show that one there as well.
Yeah, let me see if I can drag that one up there. Hang on a second, okay? So talk about this for a second, and then I'll see if I can get the other one up.
Yeah, so that's showing the snow much further north on the Euro model.
Yeah, but what's also interesting, Peg, notice how it has that little bit of a divot of no snow right along the lakefront there. So what it's showing there is that it's showing that the lake is having somewhat of an influence or eating away at the snow. Okay, it's eating away a little bit at the snow there.
So that's showing. Yeah, northern Cook and Lake is not in the GFS too much.
Right. It's going to be a little bit. But again, remember, this is just accumulating snow. Okay, that doesn't say that it can't snow for 6 to 8 hours of big wet snowflakes. It just means that the ground temperature, that what the model is showing, is too warm to accumulate snow. You follow what I'm saying there? So both models will show 10 hours of snow.
All right.
One model will.
Here's the other model, and that's the GFS. Here's the Euro model. Okay.
And the GFS is the Global Forecast System. Which has been highly advanced, or I should say, we've made some big improvements to it over the last 2 years. And notice again how the European model shows that little bit of a divot of no snow again, if you want to call it east of I-94 and I-294. Everybody see what I'm talking about there? Again, it's indicating that there's going to be some influence of warmer air coming in off the lake, but at the same time, it's showing 2 inches of both O'Hare and Midway. And if you live out in the southwest suburbs, you're talking 3 inches, and in the far southern suburbs, you're talking 4 to 5.
Yeah. And I'm looking, if you're by Lake Erie, even more in either model.
Oh God, yeah, this is going to be a better storm for areas over
Detroit,
Indiana, and Ohio. Now, here's the odd thing, and again, this is what meteorologists do. We think about all of these different scenarios, and we think of what the impacts are going to be. You strictly approach it from a scientific standpoint. If areas to the south of us, where they've gotten a lot of their corn in, gets 4 or 5 inches of snow, do you know that will make a farmer happy? Now the question is why?
Well, I would say that it's the usual thing about snow. Snow, in a lot of cases, is an insulator, and it's going to provide slow moisture into the soil.
Yep. And if you get 4 or 5 inches of snow, it'll protect them from getting a hard freeze,
right?
And actually keep the subsoil temperatures less cold than if you would have no snow.
Right. And like when we had it was interesting when we had the crazy 3 weeks in February here, where we had all that snow, and then we had those brutal temperatures. I didn't worry about my plants because they were under a foot of snow.
Insulated.
And I was wondering about. I have a shrub out there, a rhododendron. I have one rhododendron, and it usually does okay. Rhododendrons are not great in this area because they like acidic soil, and we have alkaline soil here, and they don't like the cold temperatures. There's a lot of things they don't like. But a couple of years ago, we had a brutal freeze, and it blasted all the buds on it, and it bloomed like a skirt around the very bottom where it was in the snow. This year I thought, well, the whole thing's buried. I'm betting it's going to bloom. And sure enough, the buds are coming because they were under the snow, which is the same thing you're saying about the corn's not high enough to go getting flopped. No, it's going to.
I mean, you only have seeds in the ground. That's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. But a lot of farmers, I was listening to the Midwest Farm Report early this week, and one of the meteorologists was talking about never seen soil temperatures this warm this early. A lot of farmers got out and got their seeds planted. And now a lot of farmers, by looking ahead to the next 2 weeks, are going, we're stopping any sort of planting of corn. I know that we're about 5% ahead of where we were last year at this time statewide. But other than that, this is going to be kind of an interesting scenario during the day on Tuesday. And I've seen it so many times. I used to have a magnolia tree in my backyard when I lived in Ravenswood, and every year was a crapshoot on whether or not it was going to do what it was supposed to do. And, they're beautiful for about 2 weeks, but it looks like everyone most likely will lose its leaves. Now, the big question is, over the next 3 weeks, will we get enough moisture to bring us out of what now is abnormally dry conditions? Even the next 3 weeks, we're looking at only 0.64 inches of water. That's it. Wow. And then if you look at, I know, Mike, you sent me an article about this, but now this is being picked up by the national news agencies. You look at California now compared to last year, and you look at the western third of the United States, it's the worst drought conditions we have ever seen up until this point in over 100 years. So if you thought the last 2 years were bad, holy smoke, this is getting really bad. And again, the pattern does not want to get wet in that part of the United States. So again, now the stuff that we've been talking about week after week after week is being picked up by obviously national news agencies because they've been talking about it out there. But again, when you begin to get into that sensitive time of the year, and it's not sensitive from a time when it starts to become serious, it's sensitive from a time of when you're supposed to get the precipitation to get you out of the drought. Because if you don't get out of it now, you're into it too deep. When you get it, it's like failing a class midway through the semester. You don't wait until the last week to do something about it, right?
Yeah, and if you look at this map that you sent me, paying attention to the West, obviously in exceptional and extreme drought. But if you look east, and you can see that the drought is into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Northeast Illinois is in that.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're only level 1, but it is kind of interesting how it's been up. And a friend of mine, Paul Huttner, who is the meteorologist for MPR, that's Minnesota Public Radio. I also sent you a link, published a great article about how the ice fishing season was the shortest ever on record in parts of northern Minnesota because the ice just went away. And on top of that, a couple of weeks ago, Minneapolis had 85 degrees, and then they got 2 inches of snow last week. So the pattern, Mike and Peg, just continues to become highly variable. And I keep telling people this over and over and over again. Stop thinking about planning for change. How do you think about planning for variability? It's so much more difficult to figure that out in the long term.
Can I want to show this map you sent too. This is interesting rainfall map for the southwestern United States. So the dark brown areas are where you have the least rain, and there's the green areas where you have the most, and there's only one little patch of green, and that's up in Colorado there, right in the corner. But I'm looking at the record lowest in California.
That's actually Wyoming and Utah by the Uinta mountain range.
Wyoming. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only east-west major mountain range in the United States. And it's funny, the other area where they got a higher percentage is over the Bonneville Salt Flats, probably because they had a sprinkle of rain.
That might be it. Yeah. So that's
so we're wet. Yeah.
So let me pop out of there.
Bottom line, as we finish up here, it's been chilly. The last few days have been chilly, especially near the lake. I think yesterday we were like the third day in a row, we were like in the mid 40s, right along the lakefront. I mean, it was cold. If you went west of and windy, yeah. If you went west of 294, it was in the low 60s. Today, though, the wind turns around to the south. So today will be the last mild day. We'll have a cold front come through in bits and pieces tomorrow. The warmest part of tomorrow is going to be between about 9 o'clock and about noon. Temperatures begin to lower back into the upper 40s. That'll set the stage for there's not one but two cold fronts that come through. So then Tuesday, rain mixed with snow midday Tuesday into Wednesday. And I'm thinking probably hard freeze Tuesday night and Wednesday night, meaning temperatures below 28 degrees for 4 hours. Hard freeze. Now, it warms back up Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yet another front comes through next week. So there's actually 3 different cold fronts that come through before the pattern goes mild. In fact, for the month of May, Climate Prediction Center has predicted literally above normal temperatures for all of the Midwest. But unfortunately, not all of the Midwest, all of the United States, but unfortunately, dry conditions. I mean, when you look at the long range beyond 2 weeks, you're looking dry all the way across the country. I know, and that's not good for places out west. So, I always say the midpoint of April is like the midpoint of November. It'll kind of begin to dictate what type of spring season or what type of winter season you're going to get. And we're looking warm and dry into the first. And to me, May is becoming more and more of almost like a summer season around here. It really is.
And give us that information again on the hard freeze. When is that, and how long do you expect that?
So hard freeze, depending on when the snow ends, hard freeze could be for about 2 to 4 hours Tuesday night, only because we'll still have some cloud cover. Tuesday night into Wednesday. Probably more of a 6 to 8 hour freeze Wednesday night into Thursday, only because we'll be on the back edge of the storm Tuesday night. But again, you have anything outside that you want to be, continue to thrive.
Time to get those tropicals in, Mike.
Yeah, I gotta get them in. I've got a couple of. I've already taken some plants out in the back porch, but not too many. I have to. I got one huge one. I'm going to schlep into the basement, so it'll be ready to go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nothing like schlepping.
Watch
I'll
those
be doing
stairs.
a lot of that.
Yeah, you are. You're going to be. You got to just hire a college kid and have somebody carry all the boxes. You're not doing it yourself, I hope.
Oh, it's not so much. I'm used to it by now.
Okay, fine. That's your exercise for the spring, right? Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right, Rick. Thank you so much. Not looking forward to the dry weather or the cold weather in the next few days. Let's hope things get a little better.
Yeah, and I'll see you. And I'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. All right. You have a great move. I was going to say have a great time off, but you're not. You're going to be
send us some maps anyways. We'll get them
not having any fun at all.
And I gotta figure out where this guy is gonna go, but I think he'll be fine.
Okay, good. I hope so too. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right. About that time. Whoops. Oh, there he goes. Yep. I wasn't sure I had done that right. So we just do this. I want to thank everybody who was on the show today. Melinda Myers, of course. It's just so much fun having it. I love it. I put the whole show on autopilot.
We're actually not here.
Yes, that's right. And Deborah says, "Hey, Mike, what's in your basement?" And Mike says, "Schlep." Ba-dum-bum. Thank you, Deb. Thanks
on that note.
to Rick DiMaio. Hey, go out this week and do something fun and important for Earth Week. Thanks to Kathleen and to Legata and Basil the dog. Until next time, go green or
go home.
Stadler? What? Is that it? Yes, it's over. How'd you like it? I don't know. I slept through the whole thing. Well, you didn't miss much.